Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the BTD-1 Destroyer. This is a currently rank 3 battle rating 4.0 naval bomber in the American Air Force's tech tree that costs 1,750 Golden Eagles and comes with 10 backups. In this review, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about it, including its stats, how it plays, I'll go over its strengths and weaknesses, I'll give some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on if I feel that this vehicle is worth purchasing or not. As always, if you don't mind, please consider subscribing if you'd like more content like this, as I always greatly appreciate it. But with that said, let's get into the video. Now to start, I'll place the stat card here on the side of the screen. Things to know are its armament, its top speed, and its rate of climb. Now for how it plays. The BTD-1 is basically a very large, overly built dive bomber / torpedo bomber that can be used in many different ways due to its surprisingly good versatility. It can intercept due to its air spawn and its cannons. It can boom and zoom, albeit only once in a match due to its said air spawn and cannons, and can also go after enemy bases in ARB due to its surprisingly decent bomb load. This all depends on its air spawn, however, as once you give up your altitude for whatever reason, the BTD becomes fresh meat for the enemy to sink its teeth into. Unfortunately, this aircraft has poor performance for its BR and relies almost entirely on the advantage provided by its air spawn in order to accomplish anything in a match. But of course, this air spawn allows you to snipe enemy bombers, boom and zoom against the aircraft below, and for the most part, safely attack enemy bases. Unfortunately, however, the BTD lacks a bomb sight, so you'll likely have to dive bomb in order to achieve any accuracy in destroying a base, which means that you'll give up your precious altitude to be a relatively easy target henceforth for enemy fighters. My preferred strategy with the BTD and the RRB is to attack a bomber or two, dive bomb an enemy base, and then attack low altitude aircraft with the remaining energy from said dive. This usually nets 1,500 plus points in a match in a short time frame, that will often lead to my demise after I lose the energy gained from the dive. Thankfully, the BTD has a large bomb bay, which means that, with very few loadout exceptions, it can carry all of its ordnance internally, saving it from being impacted by parasitic drag, which helps to preserve its otherwise mediocre flight performance pretty substantially. Oh, and of course you can use the Mark 13 mod Zero Mines on bases, which are among the strongest bombs in game in terms of explosive filler to overall weight ratio. Now for ground RB, the BTD functions fairly similarly. It can strafe vehicles with its 20mm cannons, as well as bomb enemy vehicles with the same powerful mines, or if you prefer, with up to 2 1,000-pound bombs, or if you really prefer, 2 1,600-pound AP bombs, though of course the latter are much better for destroying ships than anything else. Regardless, the lack of total ordnance with this aircraft means that you will have limited runs that you can make against enemy ground vehicles, but the power of said ordnance should allow you to net numerous kills per strike. Further, you should be able to destroy unaware enemy aircraft with relative ease due to the good offensive armament that the BTD provides. If playing naval, the BTD can carry up to 2 good Mark 13-6 torpedoes, which can take out a large ship. Overall, I'd say that the BTD is fairly uptierable in a CAS or naval strike role, though the same cannot be said for how it plays in Air RB. Now that being said, let's get to its strengths and weaknesses. First, for its strengths. It has 2 somewhat powerful 20mm cannons. Second, it has air brakes which do help in a dive and controlling speed. For its third strength, it has extremely powerful secondary armaments, including 2 Mark 13-6 torpedoes, 2 1,000-pound magnetic mines that can be used against bases and ground units, and 2 1,000-pound bombs, though the mines are typically better as they have much greater explosive yield. For its fourth strength, it features a very high air spawn. Fifth, it has an internal bomb bay for all armaments, except of course for torpedoes and 100-pound bombs, which means that you will have no parasitic drag for the most part. For its sixth strength, it has a tricycle landing gear that makes landing easy. Seventh, this features decent survivability despite having minimal armor for its role. And finally, it features premium RP and SL bonuses. Now for its weaknesses. Despite having a powerful engine, the Destroyer is fairly slow in terms of top speed, rate of climb, and overall acceleration. Second, it has a mediocre turning performance compared to similar BR planes of this type, doubly so against fighters. For its third weakness, the WEP only works at low altitude and isn't even all that much of a boost. For its fourth weakness, while its secondary armaments are powerful, the BTD can carry very few of them, giving you limited opportunities to strike the aircraft. Fifth, this lacks a bomb sight, meaning that you will likely need to use this as a dive bomber in order to be accurate with bombs, rather than flying relatively high while dropping ordnance. And finally, the flight controls lock up beyond 600 kilometers per hour, which is doubly bad with this vehicle due to its very high dive rate. Now with all that said, let's get into how I score this vehicle. First, for dogfighting and air RB, I give it a 6.25 out of 10. While not a great dogfighter by any means, the bomber air spawn that this vehicle receives, combined with its two 20mm cannons, allows for you to severely damage or destroy bombers and then swoop down on planes at lower altitudes. This will typically work for a few kills per match, but beyond this initial advantage, the BTD suffers substantially, as it has worse speed, acceleration, and turning when on a level playing field with essentially all fighters. Aside from this, you can easily bomb a base and be successful in either destroying it or at least getting very close to doing so, at least when you have the mines equipped with the extra 100-pound bombs. But just to reiterate, the BTD is not a good dogfighter. Rather, it benefits from having a high altitude air spawn and of course its 20mm cannons. If it did not have even the air spawn that it currently has and it just had a lower air spawn, this would likely be a 3.5 out of 10 in this category. Now with that said, for close air support, I give it a 7 out of 10. While not absolutely amazing in this role, largely due to its limited ordnance options, the BTD can carry heavy ordnance in its bomb bay, as well as two 100-pound bombs on its wings if you create a custom loadout. Because of this, along with its 20mm cannons, the BTD can actually do quite well in this role, so long as you're somewhat accurate with your payload. Further, the BTD can carry two powerful Mark 13-6 aerial torpedoes, which should be good enough to destroy fairly large ships and make easy work out of smaller ships, which makes this somewhat uptierable if you play naval. Heck, it even carries armor-piercing bombs if that's your thing. In all, this is an effective CAS aircraft, though nothing too amazing. It's pretty bare bones, but the weapons that it carries are pretty damn good. Now overall, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. This might be a touch generous, possibly even a 6.25 out of 10 would be warranted here, but I think it's a pretty accurate rating. Now I need to be abundantly clear here, if the BTD saw any BR increase and or had a reduced/removed air spawn, it would be a substantially worse vehicle than it currently is. It relies on the advantages given to it by Gaijin due to its nature as a dive bomber, and without those subsidies, so to speak, it would fail. As it currently is, however, the BTD Destroyer is very effective at what it does. It isn't amazing and has a fair amount of noticeable weaknesses, but it is pretty good in its various roles. Now with that said, do I recommend this aircraft? Yes, I do. This is largely due to how relatively inexpensive it is, as well as its decent level of versatility. It is not an amazing aircraft in one way or another, but it has enough of a payload to be effective in bombing bases or attacking enemy ground units, especially those in groups. Further, due to its air spawn, it has a good window where it can attack enemy bombers and then use its excess energy while diving down to near sea level where it can effectively engage fighters, albeit temporarily. Plus, if you play naval, it is very effective as a torpedo bomber, though it can also be a dive bomber. In all, while not amazing in any one way, the BTD is just good enough in many different ways where it is a jack of all trades and receives my recommendation and my Tankenstein seal of approval. The BTD Destroyer's name may be a touch of an exaggeration, but it can still wreck given the right circumstances, and I personally feel if I had to pick any one way that this thing is best, I'd say as a naval attacker this is probably best. Close second and third I would say as a CAS as second and Air RB for third. But with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think about this vehicle in the comments below, and also please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel, as both help tremendously and will allow you to more easily see my future videos. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.